Make it rain, baby. Wes was right.
We think a lot about it too. Shocker. Bubble worries.
Hello, chatroom. If you're listening on YouTube, irc.geekshed.net, pound Jupiter Broadcasting where the chat room's at, or it's embedded over at jblive.tv, or, how about this one? Don't say this very often. Full tab chat. bit.ly/Jupiter chat. Hello! Was just talking about the old Raspberry Pi 4 with the chat room. Right before I kicked on the YouTube stream. I'm loving that 4 gig of RAM option. Loving that. And gigabit Ethernet. Yes, please. I already ordered mine. Jason Snell, longtime Apple writer, has released his first look at macOS Catalina public beta. He says there's a lot going on in macOS Catalina, which is version 10.15. .15 of the 10 version of OS 10, of Mac OS. I wonder if they'll ever have a Mac OS 11. Oh, that's going to be the iOS-based one, huh? All right, so he says, this begins the era of third-party developers bringing their iPad apps to the Mac for the first time, and Apple's bringing a few of its iOS apps to its own Mac as well. iTunes is being broken into individual applications, including music, podcasts, and TV, with a small piece being spun into Finder. I'm kind of excited about podcasts getting its own dedicated application. I'd like to see Microsoft respond. There's also major new additions to parental controls and device management, as well as a huge upgrade to accessibility, and the ability to use an iPad as an additional display and input device, and a raft of new security and privacy features. Plus, Photos is getting a new machine learning-driven facelift. Jason's waxing on now at this point. And many of Apple's other apps, including Mail, Safari, Notes, and most especially Reminders, have gotten upgrades. There's a lot going on here. But Catalina also has its bumps. This is the first macOS that's demanding 64-bit. And that's one of the reasons they want people testing this. There's a new Feedback Assistant update that helps collect information. He writes, consider if you really want to do this. It's very much a beta, he writes. If you do, common advice, back up all your data and don't install this on your main Mac drive. Use a separate computer or a separate partition or an external drive, he writes, and never work with data that you're also backing up somewhere else. That you're not already backing up somewhere else. Now, I want to read about the podcast app because to me, obviously, a little bit of bias there. That's a pretty big deal. You don't really have a lot of well-established desktop podcast players. There's, of course, several on the Linux side. The two that I like a lot are Vocal and Gpotter, but there's many. But nothing really on the commercial desktops. So he writes about the podcast app. So obviously this is where I go to. The podcast app is much better than the podcast support in iTunes, but it's still a bit buggy in this public beta. The podcast app, which comes over from an iPad app version via their new Catalyst, which is the new name for Marzipan, that's fine. This is a good thing, he writes. Some of the Apple-produced iOS to Mac app transfers last year were of dubious quality. The iTunes podcast features were once groundbreaking, but have since become horrendously out of date. It's great that the Mac now has its own modern podcast player, he writes, and it's of good quality, with a solid view into the Apple Podcast directory. The translation from an app for iOS to a Mac is not without its quirks. Resizing the app window seemed sluggish. Clicking on an individual podcast episode in the download list kept adding to the selection rather than changing the selection. I had to click a second time to then deselect the item, and selecting a bunch didn't actually do anything, since you're not able to delete episodes via a keyboard shortcut or a menu item. You apparently have to click a button on each individual episode and then confirm a dialog box which can't be permanently suppressed, so you have to click it every single time before it's deleted. With any luck, Apple will address these issues before Catalina ships this fall. Interesting. So it sounds like it's a bit not fully baked. That's what I take from that. Not fully baked yet. Oh, I forgot my watch. So I'm getting notifications on the old Pocket. You know, one thing that I think they're going to talk a lot more in the fall about is this searching other lost items network that they're building. Sounds fascinating. They're consolidating the Find My Friends and Find My iPhone app into one single Find My application. But the other thing they're doing, which hasn't really gotten a lot of coverage, is they're doing this Bluetooth beacon detection. So if you lose a device, if other Apple devices from other customers have picked it up, it knows about the location. And Wes did a great breakdown of how the security of this works in a recent deep dive Quickie TechSnap episode that he published. Definitely worth checking out how they did the security on that. It's really cool. I imagine they're going to make it into a product in the fall, maybe as part of the new iPhone or the new watch or whatever it is, and they're laying the groundwork at WWDC like they so often do. The Notes app seems like it's gotten pretty good. They're really kind of killing it with the Notes app. The other thing they've done in accessibility now, and I think Linux should totally rip this off, maybe GNOME Shell or Plasma, is they've taken voice control and they've given you an ability to control the entire interface of the machine with dictation, because what they do, and it's so obvious, they break the machines up into, or the screen, I should say, they break your screen, your desktop, up into quadrants, little squares. So it's a grid. So you can just say, hey, Mac, in grid 97, double-click the file. Or in grid 4, click the button. It's so great. It's such an obvious implementation. I'm looking at a screenshot of it right now, and just visually looking at it, it's so obvious. So I really think this could be one of those things that a lot of desktop environments implement pretty quickly if they're paying attention. It's a big leap forward, though, in terms of accessibility for people who have had trouble with traditional input methods. With this and voice control now, you get comprehensive control over all of the Apple interface just with your voice. That's like they're taking their lead when it comes to accessibility, and they're moving forward. One of the other things that I think we'll probably see as a bit of backlash from Catalina when it ships is system files are now stored on a read-only partition mounted inside the system folder. This is a little APFS trick that they're doing. One of the big changes is the Mac core system files are now stored on a separate volume, set as read-only, to prevent them from being tampered by malicious software, Jason writes. When you've booted into Catalina, you only are seeing a single volume, but in reality, there's a separate volume lurking in /system/volumes that contains your system data. You can look, but you can't touch. Gatekeeper, which scans apps and the files the first time they're launched to verify their identities and make sure that they're secure, has then now been expanded in Catalina, Jason again writes, to run a periodic scan against the entire system. By default, Gatekeeper will require every app that launches to pass a notarization, which is a system by which developers submit their apps to an automated scanning and verification system before release. Gatekeeper's scope also has expanded as to now scans all software on the system, regardless if it came from downloads or the App Store. Regardless. Whoa. You could read that as Apple is creeping closer to limiting the Mac to only running software approved by Apple, and I suppose it is, but Apple would be quick to point out that out of these, all of this is just default settings that you can turn off. They have not removed the ability to disable any of this stuff yet. It's all still out, and we're 3 or 4 releases into macOS where they're still making it optional. I was one of the naysayers that said by 3 releases in, they would yank it. And I think this is the 4th or 5th release of macOS since they've introduced Gatekeeper, maybe the 4th. And they're still allowing you to turn it off. So, credit to them for that, I suppose. I think I was wrong on that. Apps will also ask for your permission in Catalina before accessing more aspects of your Mac system. So, like if they want to grab screen recording or the microphone or get access to your documents folder or your iCloud drive or removable disk or a network volume, they will need user consent before they're able to do so. I say that feature is designed to help stop apps from sneakily accessing your disk without your knowledge. Not bad. I mean, that's the same kind of thing that Flatpaks and Snaps are setting out to solve, right? So, that's dope creepy. Turn. Chat rooms at irc.geekshed.net, pound Jupiter Broadcasting. You can throw that into your old IRC client of choice from back in the day. Or you can just go over to gablive.tv, and we have it embedded down there. If you've got a Mac, by the way, with a T2 processor, so that would be the iMac Pro, the new Mac Mini, the new MacBook Air, and all of the recent MacBook Pro models, and also the new Mac Pro cheese grater, your Mac is now protected with the same activation lock technology, I should say, that has been built into recent iOS devices. If someone were to steal your Mac, it would be unusable by anyone without your Apple ID, username, and password. As for you out there with an Apple Watch, but without an one of these Macs that has Touch ID, like the MacBooks, Apple is expanding biometrics. A bunch of authorization requests on macOS Catalina will now allow you to approve them by tapping the side button on your unlocked Apple Watch, rather than requiring you to enter your username and password. Ooh, I like that. I wish I could. That's the kind of thing I'll never get on Linux with my Apple Watch. That right there. It's such a small thing. I probably enter my password, gotta be 50 times a day. I'm doing stuff. Oh, yeah. Every time I launch Vert Manager, gotta put my password in. Every time I install a package, gotta put my password in. Every time I try to do something that's privileged, gotta put my password in. I SSH into my server. I log in as a regular user. The first thing I gotta do, put my password in. Man, if I could just tap a button on my watch. This is why I've switched over to SSH keys completely, just to try to reduce one password entry. Yeah, I got a key without it. Whatever, shut up. The other thing they're bringing into Catalina is screen time. Yeah, that thing they introduced in iOS 12. Oh, the thing they introduced in iOS 12 that gives you overviews of how you use your Mac device, or your iOS device. Well, now it'll be your Mac device. That's really interesting because this is something a lot of time trackers use and productivity people use to try to figure out what they're using their machine for and how long. Like, how much time am I spending on Twitter or in that JB IRC room, or how much time do I spend on spreadsheets? They're going to build that in now to macOS and then aggregate it across all of your Apple devices to really give you a full picture of how you really waste your life. Oh, yay. Well, I will step out of the way. Mr. Payne is here. Mr. Dominic is en route. We got Coda Radio coming up. Thanks for waiting. We'll see you in just a minute.
Hello, hello, hello. I think there's a Michael Dominic on the line.
There is.
What would we do without you?
I don't know.
Sit around and talk about HomePods? That's all I think we could do.
But we'd be real sad about it.
Yeah.
All right, I have just upgraded to Thurrott Premium.
You did,
Did
huh?
you?
You did. Tell me about what made you decide to take the plunge to go to Thurrott Premium?
It's on sale, and there were 2 posts I wanted to read. So he got my $48.
$48. Is he
For a
doing?
year,
Is that
yeah.
his thing now, or is he still PC whatever? I mean, I know he's still doing the podcast, but is he still writing for a mainstream outlet, or is this his thing now?
You know, I think it's Thurrott.com, but I think it's actually part of.
He used to be like a
Yeah,
writer
it's
for
Petri.
Windows IT Pro or whatever it was, right?
You know, I think he's just doing Thurrott.com now.
Yeah, good for him.
Yeah.
What
But
a
it's part
crazy!
of Petri.
He has witnessed such a
Yeah.
crazy period of Microsoft's history now.
Right? Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've all been through a lot with them, you know?
Yeah, well, it's been interesting watching Paul come to terms with Apple, where they're at now in the industry, because the Linux commentators have had to kind of come to the same kind of grips that the Windows commentators had to come to.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about it that way, but you're absolutely right. Let me get a doc going.
I'm a
You
little.
mean Apple's just dominance, basically? No?
What?
As I was driving up here today, I saw some news. Apple's expanding
Oh, yeah,
in
just in general.
Seattle.
Are they really?
Oh, yeah. At least 1,000 jobs, maybe up to 4,000. Over in the
Damn.
South Lake Union area. Yeah.
Damn.
Or so, according to a recording from GeekWire.
I wonder what that's about.
We got the best cloud people? I don't know.
I don't know about that. I guess if you're trying to snipe Microsoft employees. But I feel like I'm popping a lot. Pop, pop, pop. I don't pop on these mics.
Not normally.
No, never.
I mean, occasionally.
No, when have I popped? Never.
I mean, just
Never.
ask, I think maybe ask Joe.
Not in a bajillion years. Yeah, I'm sure Joe would tell me. Oh, this week is such a weirdo week. You know what I mean? With the extra show recordings and stuff,
yeah,
it's going to
it's
mess with my
crazy.
recording, my brain
Mhm.
so much. So much.
Yeah, you take one of those.
I'm telling you, I don't know if I've
We've
ever
got
had.
show supplies.
I don't know if I've ever had Is this a new one? Tropical Thunder? I know they have an orange one.
Yeah, I think it is.
But Tropical Thunder. Is that the orange one, or maybe the orange one's always called Tropical Thunder? I've just never noticed. It's a weird way to say orange flavored. Whatever orange is.
Yeah, I mean, don't you want thunder? If you're going to drink something.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
No thunder?
No,
Come
I know.
on.
I generally do prefer thunder. You're right. No, that's an astute observation. I do like thunder. The thunder.
Lightning.
The thunder.
There we go.
How come I don't see the doc? What's the matter with Google? Oh, there. God, Google Docs on the iPad, the app, is such crap. I can't wait till Safari has full desktop mode and I can just use it in the browser.
Yeah, wouldn't that be a glorious future? Why is it so difficult?
Future is near, my friend.
We're just slowly and reinventing stuff, like you were talking about on this here live stream, adding more app stuff requests, right? To for Catalina apps, which does make sense. You're right. It is kind of like snaps and stuff. It's just so funny because that seems like such a basic. In some ways, it's simpler, right? Like you don't have to go hacking around and import libraries to go figure. It's like, hey, operating system, can I have a camera?
Yeah.
And if you want to ask the user about it, then all right, it's their camera.
It does seem like the better way to do it.
But we've had to like slowly build these new abstractions over a long time. How you doing today, Mr. Dominic?
I'm good. How are you?
Oh, doing great. It's Coda Radio Day.
overclothed, but other than that, I'm all right.
Right, yeah, well, that's
It's getting a little, it gets to that temperature where I feel like I should just be wearing shorts for the rest of the year. I need to just
It's a hard switch.
I need to make a hard switch where I just pull all the pants out of the wardrobe and the shorts go in.
Little note on them that says, like, are you sure? Boy, we got a lot. We got a lot going on.
I started the titles.
We got a lot in this doc.
Bang suggestal.
This is a heavy document.
This is a serious production.
That's right, Coda Radio. All right.
A reminder: we also have the JB Live FM stream. If you
If that's more your speed, you know.
you don't need that visual, if
No,
you're on the go,
It's pretty nice. Actually,
you can just pop jblive.fm into your browser on your phone if you got like a modern smartphone. Which has got to be all of them.
Modern, huh?
Doesn't that got to be all of them now? Yeah, I think it's got to be all of them.
It
now.
has to be.
So I think if you have a smartphone, you just put jblive.fm into your browser, and it will do the stream, which is pretty sweet.
Actually, it is nice, yeah. Because who needs video? Who needs video? The trick is you got to just get it set up with like a bookmark or something, because you don't want to be, you don't want to be trying to enter that in while you're driving.
Shoot, girl, tell me about it.
I've been in that situation. So thankfully, there's YouTube as well, which is
That's
nice.
true. YouTube does work decently on the mobile. And if you got the red or premium, and then you lock the old screen, it switches to an audio stream.
Right?
God only knows what the bitrate is or what encoding they're pulling that audio stream from. We have no control over that. Whereas the JB Live FM is carefully curated by us.
As we do with all of our products.
As we do. Wah, wah, wah.
So do we need, we did some shuffling around. Are we happy with the way things look before we get going?
Looks good to me.
Do we need
I was
any
born happy.
more? I mean, right now we kind of just have like the two, I guess. Like, do we need any more?
No.
Yeah,
No,
okay.
I don't think
No,
so.
I think this will be fine.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and then what is this? 363 and the date. Oh, there's no date on the top here. I gotta go like
What is the day today? Today is
24.
the 24th.
lucky number 24. Is that lucky? I
Which
don't know.
means we may have been employees for a year now. I don't remember if it was July or June. God, time is flying by.
Right?
My kids are all out of school now. They're all in the next grade.
Newsflash, did you know it's 2019?
Could everybody just slow down for a few minutes? Would that be all right?
What about like a nap year? Everyone just takes a nap year.
Yeah, we've got leap years. Let's have nap years. Society would be better off.
Yeah,
We just all
that is for
we'd
sure
have
true.
to pull together. Maybe you should start a change.org petition.
Oh, I heard those work. I mean, 100% of the time, right? Shocker.
There you
Nice.
go.
There we go.
There you go.
I knew that.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like that to be remixed into something. Yeah,
Shocker.
I think that needs to happen. Oh man, you got some good stuff in here.
Oh, it's a great one. Yeah, it's
That
loud.
one's so loud.
That one's loud. That one's loud.
Wow.
Yeah, that one's loud. Yeah, that one's good. Is that the crew clips or is that just That's Lup, isn't
Yeah.
it?
I just got to switch over.
Plex? Ooh.
Oh, what about Plex?
What are you talking about?
Oh my
Plex
God.
can run on the new Apple TV. Interesting.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, you wait as a server or as a client? Because they got a Plex
Client.
app. Yeah, they got a
Yeah.
Plex app. Yeah, it's not bad. It's not a bad app.
Interesting.
It's got the best it freaks out the least about fast forward and rewind out of many of the the Roku or the Android versions of
Oh, really?
Plex. Yeah, the Apple one.
Yeah.
I think because they got a little more spare horsepower in there or something.
Spare horsepower.
But remind me to ask you about Plex. I am so stumped about. I think I done my first Plex setup in Docker, and I've messed something up.
Is that right? Isn't that supposed
Well,
to be really
I'm not
easy
currently
now?
running a Plex server. that
Plex
thinking
is
about.
great, man. Especially if you've got a mobile device and you're watching. If you can get a bunch of TV shows in there, I do this is I download them all to my iPad, and then it syncs back my watch status after the flight, so I can watch them offline. It's really nice. It's a great way to
Nice.
to kind of binge a series while you're traveling.
Yeah.
But the best part is that there's Plex sharing, and so I know a couple of people that could get you hooked up, and they have got huge libraries of good content, and Plex streaming just works so well. So once you have Plex set up, you can connect to these shared libraries that people have to share directly with you. But we got a couple people here on the team that have them, and then
Interesting.
and then it's you don't have to do anything because they do all of the curation, and you just stream it, and it's so great.
Yeah, so I'm currently struggling because I no longer have a device hooked up that can play DVDs.
Yeah.
And apparently I have the urge to watch the old Pirates of Silicon Valley movie, which I do own on DVD. But you apparently cannot buy this digitally from any vendor ever.
Really?
Yep.
Have you checked? YouTube's got a bunch of weirdo titles that you can buy from
You
YouTube.
can rent it from YouTube.
Rent.
Yeah.
Rent.
Yeah. Yeah, rent it.
That seems like one of the movies you want, every like decade or so you want to go visit again.
You want to watch it, right? Like
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
10
an
years.
own. That's an own.
Yeah. And I'm not like willing to hook up a DVD player to watch it though. Right?
I know what you mean. No, of course not. You're not going backwards.
Like I was gonna pay another $10 for a movie I've already bought, but
That's what I would do too. That's totally.
If it's convenient, right?
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes that's all you need.
Yeah, I might actually have. I think I might actually have Pirates of Silicon Valley on Plex.
I haven't watched that for ages.
Oh yeah, I've been actually waiting for my next rewatch to watch it with Hadia and Dylan just to kind of give them a little context.
yeah.
Oh, that's smart. Yeah, actually. Some good history going on there.
Yeah.
All right. I think. I mean, I'm ready to do.
I'm ready.
Some radio.
I'm ready.
Cody.
Let's do it.
Chat room, bang, suggest if you would.
Where's this music playing from?
Airmaster. So it's on 5.6. In my browser, yeah. Kill it, Wes.
there
Kill
it
it.
is.
Just
Yeah.
kill it, Wes. Just kill it with what do they say? Egregious or no? Aggression?
Vengeance?
No. Event? No.
I was gonna just sort of
Do
fade
a
it
soft
out.
fade
yeah.
out.
But
That's
I could,
probably
I mean,
way,
I could-
that's probably way more pro actually.
I mean, I'm hovered over that. Now we're paused. Now we're paused. Goodbye, Ron.
Oh, we got a little yard maintenance, huh? I'll get the window.
How do they know? I think they wait till noon as well. It's all tightly timed. You can't start mowing early, and you can't start Coda early.
Oh, it's a big one. It's
Cup-
gonna be an all day or two.
Oh no! Oh no!
Yeah, it's a big
Lucky us,
That's
and
the one where they like to mow along the wall that nobody walks, but for some reason we have to keep the
got
grass
it.
mowed.
I mean, that's
You're
just
nobody's allowed over there.
that's an American.
In fact,
value.
keeping the grass long would be a deterrent, which would help them. But no, you got to make it look
I'm not in
good.
the chat room. What am I doing?
Well,
That's my fault.
yeah.
Yeah.
You
So
know.
it's good that we had this
I
very.
wasn't gonna say anything, but yeah, he will be at the other end here in a minute. He's moving, but then he'll be coming back. You see, it's a back and forth back, and you'll be surprised it'll take all day somehow.
You know who's gonna love that? Our friend Drew.
There's a lesson here in hourly billing, kids.
I guess, kids, time and materials. Can't say more good things about it, really.
Let's get a little soundboard check here.
Oh yeah, we should get our recorder set up. And do you have levels on the?
I got levels. Hey, Mike, will you say something real quick? Let's see if we got some backup. Oh, yep, backup levels.
Yeah, just breathing. We heard that, and we should probably
Okay.
capture room tone and stuff.
Oh, yeah, we should.
Oh, I'm just excited to be on the show.
Oh, yeah, we got a great show today.
It's a big show, really big show.
All right.
Important show today.
When you're ready, Mr. Dominic, I'm hovering over the record button.
All right, tell me when. Oh, wait. Now tell me when.
3, 2, 1, record.
Record.
And we're off.
Hello, future Drew.
We're sorry in advance about the lawn maintenance noise you may hear behind us.
Mike,
It's not my fault this time.
No, Mike hired a guy.
Yeah, he knows where we're at.
I did not hire it. Yeah, to go to the studio. And, yeah, that's exactly what I did.
That's a good use of your money.
You're insane, but we love you.
It's better than buying another MacBook, so actually it's a lot cheaper.
It would actually be like a supreme troll to like hire a yard guy to come and do yard maintenance during our live shows, because the live shows are all public, timed. So,
I mean, we encourage participation. Yeah, it's not hard to figure out when we're here.
all right, should we get a little?
Mike, you want to do some noise capture with us? It'll be fun. All right, 3, 2, 1. Alrighty.
That moment of silence was dedicated to Xorg, which we now have an end of life date for, which we will reveal in Linux Unplugged tomorrow.
One more reason to show up live.
Look at me teasing.
I know. Isn't that was a good find on your
Teasing to
part.
the people that are already going to show up anyways.
Maybe they had plans tomorrow. They were going to miss it. Or
Yeah, now they're going to cancel and make
I
sure
was
they
going to
show
go to
up.
the gym, but it's lap time.
Right.
Just
You're right.
skip
No,
that.
you're right.
Just work out later.
Absolutely. Well, it's going to be a good episode. Oh, it's such a crazy week. We're doing double episodes for Linux Unplugged, which takes a lot of work.
It's a big show.
It's a lot of show. It's a lot of show.
Some would say too much.
It's funny, like, if we were to cut that sucker down to 30 minutes, it would seem like a cakewalk. But an hour and 10 is like a ton of work.
It's a ton of work.
Yeah.
Worth it though. It's a great show. So yeah, do stay by. Stand by.
All right. Ready?
My levels are kind of quiet, but
Who?
me, this guy,
Never heard of him.
this microphone, but they're probably fine. All right. Someone has a notification.
Muted.
I think I'm good there, yeah. Okay. Phone check.
Raspberry Pi 4 Day.
I know. I heard you got one.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, I did too.
Oh.
Yeah, awesome.
4 gigs of RAM?
Yeah, I know. I've been waiting. I actually said in LAN, if they come out with one like that, I'd buy it. So I did. Well,
That just seems like way too much RAM for a Raspberry Pi.
nobody needs more than 512. What did it originally have when it shipped?
600K?
No, when the Raspberry Pi first shipped, was it 512, the very first
Oh,
model?
man, was it?
Yeah,
I
512.
think
yeah.
I still have one of those hanging around somewhere.
You could even run Windows on it now.
Yeah. Why would you? But yeah. All right. Showtime. And this is Coda Radio, episode 363 for June 24th, 2019. Hello, and welcome to Coda Radio, Jupiter Broadcasting's weekly talk show that takes a pragmatic look, well, at least most of the time, at the art and business of software development and related technologies. My name is Wes, and I'm joined by our very best co-host, Mr. Michael Dominic. Welcome back, Mike.
Hello, hello.
Now, we're lucky enough to be joined by one other troublesome fellow today, Mr. Chris Fisher. Hi, Chris.
Here comes trouble.
That's right.
That's what they always said. Every IT job I ever went to, when I'd walk up with another guy. If it's just me, they wouldn't say that, but two of you, here comes trouble.
Well, you got a buddy, a schemer, someone to help.
I know somebody else has had that problem out in IT. Shout out at Chris LAS. Yeah, well, when I heard you guys were talking about the art and business again, at least one of your topics was the art and business of software development. Those are always my favorite.
Yeah, I mean, it's deep because I love all the tech stuff. I really do. And we're going to start with a little of that today. But, you got to do this for a living. And it gets wrapped up in how you live your life, and that kind of matters a lot. You only got one.
A lot of things Mike and I talk about off air is more like the how do you keep at it kind of aspect. And that's something we've brought into the show over the years. And, I wanted to contribute to that conversation because it's something that even as things have changed here for us as we've become part of Linux Academy, my roles have changed, my work has changed, and that's had strange and different and unexpected impacts on me. And I'm just kind of getting to the other side of it, and I've learned some things and some lessons that I thought I already knew, but
You got to learn them again sometimes.
Yeah. Anyway, so when we get there, I'm excited to talk about it. But I know we have a lot of things to talk about today, not just that. Thanks for letting me be here.
Oh, yeah, of course. How are you doing today, Mike?
I'm good. I'm looking forward to our menage a trois once again.
Did you load the new macOS Catalina beta?
No, because I'm not insane.
No, I got no intentions of doing that. I do find it this is going to be the most interesting in terms of impact just because of the 64-bit transition
Right.
and the read-only system stuff. So I am fascinated from an observer standpoint.
It's interesting to watch them develop that operating system now that, we were kind of questioning for a while how much work are they putting in on that side of the fence, but we're kind of seeing more now, even if half of it is Project Catalyst.
Yeah. Yeah, I think they're actually, it seems like they're about to actually make the Mac a competitive workstation platform again. Another rumor out today, 16-inch MacBook Pro with a new keyboard shipping in September, which we'll see.
Now, how are we I've been promised a new keyboard before. So when we say new.
Well, there was an interesting omission in a recent interview on a podcast with one of the lead engineers of the Mac Pro. And he said that the current generation of MacBooks were designed and built before their new Pro Services team that they worked with to design the iMac Pro and the Mac Pro, and that the MacBook Pro would have the same treatment. The entire line would have the same treatment as what the statement was.
Can you get the cheese grater form in that form factor?
Well, I think what they're going to do is they're going to come up with a super MacBook Pro, like a big 16-inch that justifies a completely different keyboard. So they'll keep maybe the keyboard on the current MacBook Pro that they just updated.
But they'll have a super expensive workstation model for, all the complainers out there.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a $5,000 laptop. Is
Mm-hmm.
what that
Yeah,
means.
we should all start a little savings jar somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I don't think so. I think actually I'm pretty happy. I've come to a new thing, so I'm pretty happy. I know you guys have got a lot to talk about, though. That's not what we're here to talk about.
Yeah. You know what I would probably be running on that? Well, we'll see. We'll get into that. It might be Kotlin, because that's my programming language challenge. Not quite of the week, but, the one we're doing right now.
Are you doing them weekly now, really? I thought you kind of changed a little bit. Like you're giving a little more room if it needs to really go deep, right?
Yeah, we're alternating. So, Mike, you're looking at Go now, so we'll talk about that at the next episode, which I'm really looking forward to.
And you were looking at Kotlin.
Yeah, I've had a little time to sit and play with Kotlin. Yeah, if you're not familiar, it's developed by JetBrains and managed by, well, of course, the Kotlin Foundation, because everyone's got to have a foundation these days. It's interesting because one version of the story for Kotlin could have been that it was this like niche little language, right? Lots of people try to make languages. Google made Dart, for instance, which seems somewhat comparable and comes to mind. Most languages don't go anywhere. Now, JetBrains has some advantages in that they make some of the best software development tools in the business. So they clearly know a lot about, you have to get in your hooks into these languages if you're going to make a nice IDE. So you learn a lot about how that all works and maybe how to put one together. It's been very impressive that Kotlin has become so popular so fast. And like in particular, with Google adopting it as, language du jour on Android. For me, I came from a lot more dynamic languages before, and I'd done a little bit of some of the statically typed languages like ML way in the past when I was, learning computer science. And I hadn't dabbled that much in Java. I came to Java late in life, and I'll be honest, it was kind of painful. Mike, I'm sure you can sympathize with that.
Oh yeah. Oof. So how did you work your way through it?
I mean, mostly I just sort of avoided it and used it where I could. But it is useful, right? I mean, the JVM is a fantastic platform to run on top of, and there's world-class libraries out there for Java. So you need, or at least will want to sort of use those things.
But things seemed like they really changed kind of recently when the situation between Oracle and Google heated up.
Yeah, that's a complicating factor, that's for sure. Oh boy, Oracle.
Yeah,
Oracle.
It seems like that head-to-head battle sort of start. You saw more and more Android developers start to look at Kotlin, and Google itself would start to talk about Kotlin more. And if I understand, and I really don't, but the little bit that I do seem to understand is that Kotlin has a pretty similar syntax and concept from a lot of popular languages. So it's not a huge transition.
No, that's what's nice. Is to me it's been a breath of fresh air. So it's not gonna be like my go-to language. I still really like some of the more functional things. Not that we can talk more. You can do functional programming in Kotlin. It's just not super aimed towards it like something like Haskell or Clojure is. But I never really enjoyed Java. You can make Java work really well. You can do whatever you want. It's a very powerful language. I just find it not a lot of fun to write and doesn't really inspire me to want to use it. But you often need to use it places either for performance or just as bindings to hook into stuff libraries that you want to use, or you're interacting with people who use Java. And Kotlin seems incredible there. Now, you could use something like Scala maybe or Clojure, but Kotlin's interoperability with Java is really just first class. And when you're not doing interop, it's just like Java++.
So if you're creating a Kotlin app or whatever, is it running in a Kotlin runtime or the JVM? Is it a binary app? Is it?
Yeah. So it just compiles down to JVM bytecode.
It does.
Yeah. It can actually you can actually do both. So there is a thing called Kotlin Native, where you can straight up compile down to native code.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So that's another interesting.
99% it's the JVM. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the main use case that you see, or for stuff like running on Android, which is similar.
And there is a weird JavaScript transpiling thing. I've never done that, but everything has to transpile to JavaScript now. So why not Kotlin?
It does seem to be the theme so far of these challenges.
Well, so the thing about JavaScript is that you can't avoid it, right? Unless you only do back-end work for some service that connects other back-end services. Okay, maybe you're in that narrow field that you've escaped it. But if you do anything on the web, like you just have to use JavaScript, right? And JavaScript, it's getting better, but it's still painful and inconsistent. Now, having just come from TypeScript, I didn't play a ton with the JS side of Kotlin, although I did get it up and running and sort of poked around a little bit. I don't know that I would necessarily choose that over TypeScript just because TypeScript seems to be so popular in the JavaScript community, and you get a lot of the same benefits there if you enable those options. Now you get them in Kotlin by default. Like, I love the way Kotlin handles like null types, non-null types, that sort of stuff. You know, the way you think about it without it just in some languages you add it on with like a monad, like maybe or either, and you see it everywhere in your code. And that can be nice because it is very explicit, right? You are thinking about like, what's the failure case here? Is this an error? Kotlin, because they've sort of designed it and lowered it into the fabric of the language explicitly, it just feels a little bit more ergonomic, and you kind of forget about it a little bit more. We've talked a little bit. They're bringing some of those, like you say, they're importing these features from other popular languages, and then other languages are copying them. So it's kind of an interesting way to reflect on language design as well, because JetBrains has been looking around, studying what's been popular in the industry, and there's been a lot of attempts at this stuff. Like Scala seems like a good example, where it's a little bit more of a research language, right? Designed and developed by a lot of academics, and it's absolutely a production language.
Right, but where Kotlin seems like it's very much on the other end of that spectrum.
Yes. It's very much inspired by this Java, sort of just like robust, professional, no nonsense. We're not going to be that flashy.
Right. That's our sales pitch isn't that we're some sort of unique, innovative language. It's more like, well, it's really pragmatic. It draws on inspirations from decades of things that have worked, which I think is part of what's made it easily adoptable. I think, Mike, you saw this one coming a mile away.
Yeah, I mean, Kotlin, even before Android adopted it, or rather Google adopted it for Android, I think at the time when I first saw this come out, I was working on a very large-scale Java Play application. And the interoperability that Kotlin provided, even in its early days, just basically being a cleaner and frankly somewhat less verbose Java that could still pull in the client's existing jars and, so jars are Java libraries, right? And completely, pulling Gradle dependencies just like your straight Java was really nice. Now, having said that, things have changed. That was years ago. I have to agree with Wes that Kotlin maybe wouldn't be my first choice anymore. I'd probably try something a little more functional. For me, that'd probably look more like an F#. But I have to say, given the choice, like if I was targeting the JVM again, I would probably be hard pressed not to pick Kotlin, right? I would be pretty enthusiastic about Kotlin over straight Java. And some of the irony here is the JDK 11 is adopting many of the features of Kotlin, right?
Right. Stuff that they had in their compiler will now be supported in the host, or at least one of their hosts.
Exactly.
Yeah, that is interesting. It does seem like a good choice too, if you're not going to go pursue some of the more esoteric or functional, if you have a team and everyone wants to go do Scala and you're excited about Scala Z and some of the neat stuff in that community, cool. But if you just sort of want a better Java, you want some improvements, a little modernization, really nice IDE support. Yeah, Kotlin seems like a good choice.
I'm curious what your process was here. Did you try standing up a few things? Did you look at examples? Like, what's your exploratory process? What's the pain process? I was trying to come up with like an alliteration.
The pain process.
Yeah. What was your pain point? Oh, pain points. Dude, podcast name.
Man, that's good.
That's a good. Write that one down.
Pain points.
West Payne podcast.
It's time for the pain points.
Yep.
I usually start by following sort of whatever the most official looking documentation is, just to try to get a sense of like what's the onboarding path for some random person coming from the internet just curious about the language.
It's good. It's good thinking.
Yeah. And in this case, it'd been a while since I'd used IntelliJ, so I got that going. I know there's some integrations, like they have a Sublime Text, and I did play around with it, just kind of using it minimal style in the terminal with Vim. But it seemed proper coming from JetBrains. I should use it in its sort of home environment. So that was an interesting part too, just because I appreciate all the neat features of IDEs, and I think especially for some of the languages in the Kotlin and Scala and Java style, like those IDEs are great.
Yeah, it's just not where you live every day, though.
Yeah, exactly. So that was kind of fun being on
that
side of the
fence. It's a lot, though.
Yeah.
And it's nice.
And it is, autocomplete and generating code for you, and it's an interesting alternative style of development. But it is in the spirit of, fast feedback cycles and giving you information and helping you understand. And instead of a running program, it's a static thing. But it feels incredibly dynamic because they're doing so much to interrupt and interrogate with the code. So, get development environment set up, and then I usually start with just some like simple academic challenges. I've been doing the advent of code because they're not purely, it's not just like a sorting algorithm or something like that. It's a little bit of novelty and some like data loading and processing. So you have to start doing some stuff. Like you want to start, looking at I/O, looking at networking,
Sure.
trying to understand like how's the concurrency work in this
Well, when you
language.
think about the scope of it, it's a lot of things to touch on.
Yeah. You might also want to start, maybe you want to, depending on the type of language, maybe you want to try to get like a web stack up and going.
Of course.
I didn't do that this time, but that's a good one
Yeah.
to start to play with and see, all right, what's the, connections to the databases like. Now, that's easier here because I was just using the JVM and that was an environment I was already familiar. So most of the stuff I was interested in was some of the compiler type safety, all the little extras that Kotlin's thrown on top.
Cool.
It has been fun. While I was doing some research, I'll have a link in the doc, of course, coder.show/363. There's a Clojure IDE called Cursive, and it's like a plugin wrapper sits on top of IntelliJ. Clojure's a little harder because it is a very dynamic language, so you can't do, or it's more difficult to do a lot of the static analysis that you can do for languages like Kotlin. It's also a little bit heavier, or at least has more runtime, more dynamic nature, so it can't always or isn't as easy to optimize in certain cases. Originally, this IDE for Clojure was written mostly in Clojure, but the developer has recently changed a whole bunch of its core to Kotlin so that he could get better startup times, and he just thought that the interoperability with having to, you have to hook into a bunch of Java because that's what IntelliJ is based on, thought that was more pleasant. So it seems like that's exactly the use case I would think of. I wouldn't maybe design my whole data flow pipeline of architecture of my program and choose Kotlin, but all the little pieces where I got to touch systems or a little hot loop instead of Java, why not Kotlin? I think that's the theme of my review. Why
I like
not
that.
Kotlin?
Why not Kotlin?
Not Kotlin?
That's pretty good. That's actually kind of a title right there. Good one. Nice. So now it's go time.
Now it's go time. Yeah.
So now it's go time. But are you ready for your challenge for 2 weeks?
Oh, I am excited already. All right.
So
all right.
so you've taken the journey. You've held hands with Java Duke, and if you get that reference, you're old. And now you knew this was coming. Objective-C.
Oh,
No way.
You're throwing the gauntlet down, aren't you?
Wow. Part of me thought it was going to be the first one he chose, so I'm kind of surprised it took this long.
The slow play. Okay. I need a little help here then. Can I get like maybe some suggested first steps? Like what would you like to make sure that what shouldn't I miss when I'm trying Objective-C, and maybe how do I
Oh,
get started?
yeah, because there's a lot here for Mike.
So yeah, there's a lot here, right? And to make it easier, just do a GNU step, the Linux implementation, so you don't have to worry about Mac VMs.
Well, that's nice of you.
That is nice.
Right. I mean, if you want to set up a Mac VM, you can, but by the time you do that, it's a huge pain in the ass.
The next version
I would
of Swift
say,
will be out.
yeah, I would say take a look at GNU step and try to write any kind of small application. It could literally do, I don't care, it could do nothing, right? But do it using pure message passing as much as possible.
Oh,
Wow.
Right, so take
okay.
advantage of the So take advantage of the dynamic messaging that Objective-C has. So you could just write C, right? Because it's a superset of C.
course, right.
You could also write in a very C++y style. Try not to do that. I mean, you'll have to some, but
Right.
yeah, try to do a lot of the dynamic messaging and see what it feels like to not have the compiler protect you.
Just sort of pass messages around and
Just pass them around.
Okay. Yeah.
That's it.
Man, I cannot wait to hear how this goes.
This is okay. This will be good. I'm gonna have to get
Then I
started
just
right
linked
away.
GNU step in the chat, and I tell you, Wes, this project looks like it's well maintained. Real.
Oh, it's
So this might be as much a GNU step report as anything else.
Oh man, look at that. That takes me back. Wow.
Yeah, wow. This is
Look at that user experience there. We got to put this in the
at
show
that.
notes so the audience can take a look at this. This is too good.
That's amazing. And this is, of course, more of a trolly one. So if it ends up just being a pain, whatever, we can all.
Hey,
have a
Wes
good
Payne?
laugh. Oh, pain notes.
That's
be a
right.
pain point.
Episode 1.
No, this is a great choice, and it comes up so much. It's so much a part of the Coder Radio heritage.
It really is.
I need to. This is my journey to explore Objective-C.
You're a brave man, Wes. You're a brave man.
Wait a minute. news about Objective-C 2.0. This is going to be amazing, Wes. I'm not entirely sure when the last time this project was maintained is.
It may be easier to get a Mac VM going.
I think some of the listeners did. They were talking about it in the Telegram. So
I'm pretty close. I still haven't cracked it, but I'm really close.
Yeah, you're working on that.
Yeah. I'm really close.
You are, you have Hackintosh experience.
Yeah,
Although I do too.
It's funny, I got the GPU working. That wasn't the hard part. It turns out the hard part has been getting the USB pass-through to work. So my Mac VM detects my Ethernet cards, but never gets an IP. And my mouse and keyboard aren't working too well. Like something's not quite right. But it works fine under Windows. So
it's not the underlying scheme. It's
I
something.
don't think so. Hard to say though.
And Mac OS. Excuse me. It's such a black box. I mean, it's kind of fun to play with and poke with because you don't know what's going on. But
I as much as I respect what Apple has done with Mac OS, when you do the Hackintosh or the VM route, you do kind of see under the hood a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, oh, it's just like every other OS.
There's subsystems that are like thought out, up to date, right? They put a lot of time and tooling into.
That's the parts I respect the most, especially as a media production person. I can really respect that.
Core audio and then other parts you're like, oh, and then you had some twine left over from the nice thing, and you use that to wrap up the rest into a pseudo POSIX implementation.
Yeah, a lot actually. It's a lot like that. But it works, right? On their targeted hardware, in their problem domain, they've got it figured out, and that's what matters. They're not solving for me.
Are we ever going to see a server again?
Well, no, actually, I think
really.
Yeah, didn't they? They just announced like a SKU of the Mac Pro that's designed for rack mount.
That's pretty close.
You're right there.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it'll have I think instead of handles and wheels, it'll have like rail mounts.
That actually look pretty slick.
Not bad. I mean, and I guess $5,000 for the starting price of a server isn't outrageous.
Right. Once you put it in that context, it's kind of like, okay. It's just like my real fancy little weird GPU compute cluster that looks pretty. I mean, if you have a nice aesthetic, you've shown it off.
Yeah.
I think that case is ugly as hell, but we should move on to real-time follow-up here. Apparently, you can apt install GNU Step. Lucky you.
Give that a try there, Wes. Try it right now. See what happens. He's got his ThinkPad right here.
Yeah. Here we go.
Yeah.
All right.
There you go.
64 megabytes coming on down.
Yeah, that's all it is, baby. GNU Step and GNU Step Tactival. Those are the two.
I love it.
I'm excited. Thank you, Mike.
I hope you like square brackets.
I love all kinds of brackets. I don't choose
Open-minded.
between my brackets. I
You're
mean,
not
I
a
think
bracketist?
curly is my favorite because it's just really fun, like on a whiteboard to draw. Just
Ooh,
really pretty curly brace.
No, it intimidates me to try to draw a curly bracket on a whiteboard.
I can't draw a curly brace.
I always feel like an idiot.
But square is good too.
I feel like I'm drawing a 3 every time. It just really is intimidating. So I had kind of a topic that caught my attention. It was actually brought up by Mike in our Slack chat.
Yeah, so Mike brought it up, and then you sort of were sucked into a rabbit hole. I'm pretty sure.
As I do. Something I noticed when I went independent with Jupiter Broadcasting, I thought to myself originally, I'll convert this into what I called a lifestyle business, and I'll just run it as a small little business that makes enough living for myself and a few employees. And that was a beautiful dream that was absolutely impossible. When you look at the hustle as a service culture that we now live in, it was never really going to be sustainable. And there is this pride that has developed in Western culture, even worse in the United States, that Alexis Ohanian, the investor and guy behind Reddit now, really nailed in an interview that Mike found on Wall Street Journal. And I'll just read part of his opening statement here. He says, I've spoken out quite a bit about things like hustle porn and the ceremony of showing off on social media about how hard you're working. You see, y'all see it on Instagram, and you certainly see it in the startup community. It becomes really toxic. And this became amazingly poignant just this week when over the weekend there was this massive kerfuffle about Ubuntu potentially dropping 32-bit or i386 support in 1910 Ubuntu.
Oh boy, my 32 bits?
That was announced last Tuesday. It's actually, we have all the links in Linux Action News. It's actually been in discussion roughly since May 4th, 2018, and I have followed the discussion since then. We've covered it in a couple of our shows, actually. But on Tuesday, Will Cook, the desktop manager for Ubuntu, announced that they were officially going to deprecate support for the i386 architecture. That was on Tuesday. On Friday, a Valve developer noticed. I guess he wasn't following it super close, but kind of close.
Yeah, checked in,
And he immediately tweeted that, hey, going to have to drop support for Ubuntu. This just wrecks gaming. We're out. Not necessarily a Valve position, but this staffer's position, who is responsible part of the team, so he likely has pretty big input, or maybe not. Maybe he even has, who knows? But right, but it's not an official Valve communication. But from that tweet, the internet sort of erupted as it does. Like half a dozen articles went live in a matter of hours. A change.org petition was created to force and
That's
demand.
the real sign, right?
Yeah, demand that Ubuntu include 32-bit support. And Canonical responded, considering that this thing broke Saturday morning their time, they responded by Sunday morning my time, which is Pacific. So that's a decent turnaround, right?
Mm-hmm.
The internet was not satisfied. Once the primary thing they were upset about had been solved, they now had to continue to justify the outrage.
Well, once you're spun up, you're just all in a huff.
And you need to, there has to be rationale. And so the message changed to, well, you didn't communicate it properly. This broke on a Friday, U.S. time, and it took you until Sunday to say anything. Like, why aren't you working 24/7? You're a multinational company with hundreds of employees. Why don't you have, this is, quote, why don't you have decision makers working 24/7 to handle these things, end quote. And I saw a variation of that every couple of hours all weekend long, including up until as we went on air right now.
Yeah. So to handle Twitter rage?
Right. Yes.
That's no.
That is the expectation. Why aren't you here answering us? And it builds so fast. Like multiple articles get posted, mobs form on Twitter. I mean, we watched this as a crew. We were all it was really kind of neat. We were monitoring all these various sources. And so we were really watching this thing from a complete 360 degrees. And it was fascinating to watch these mobs form, and these different posts would go live, and then you would see you would just see like a big spike in the social media reaction and the comments. And
right, yeah, different people follow different outlets, and they're suddenly, what's happening?
And it was all kind of like, even if, say, just for the sake of this entire kerfuffle, say Canonical stuck to their guns and said, nope,
Dropped.
we're going the route of Catalina in Ubuntu 1910. We are not going to maintain the i386 architecture. We're done. Now, we'll still maintain it for years in 1804 and 1604, so you could probably just grab it from there, or grab a PPA, or a snap, or a flat. Like, there was always going to be a solution to this problem. It was never going to be a disaster, but it went to 11. And then what I thought was fascinating is this demand of an immediate response. And it really enforces this culture we have now entered, where if you have a job that's on the internet, you work 24/7. And it happens to us here, part because it's both hobby and profession, but it really is like we have people all over the world. Joe's essentially shifted to our time zone. Like it really is a big problem, and it is a massive contributor to burnout, a significant contributor to burnout. And that's where I wanted to get your thoughts, Mike.
Yeah, I mean, so there's a couple things here. Like one, maybe I am just confused, but my understanding is like this is actually not that big of a deal. The actual
no, this particular example is not.
Yeah,
no,
right. The technical problem here is again solved with the PPA, and I think the Linux Action News coverage was much deeper and better. And if you're curious, listener, go there. But yeah, I mean, I get this all the time. Chris and I have kvetched on many a Slack conversation about just constant, like, basically death marching, right? And I have to tell you, Chris, at least in my experience, people generally don't appreciate it. Even if you do pull the all-nighter to get that build out, or, in the case of kind of the Twitter rage stuff, I've had people tweet a question to me and I didn't respond in an hour because I was like, doing my job,
Right.
and get like three follow-on tweets, right? Or like emails. It's just the expectations have gotten crazy from, I remember way back when in my time machine, before like social media and Twitter, you would send someone an email and they might not reply until the next business day. And that was totally normal.
Yeah.
It's interesting too, right? Because it is, I mean, he kind of speaks to it there. It's all about expectations, and we're just so bad at being explicit about that and managing them. And once you've got these devices always on with you, you can check all the time. We're just not good at it.
I think that's a bit of it. Yeah, it's definitely like it's hard to set firm boundaries about like, hey, 7 p.m. till morning is my family time. That's a hard thing to not, especially as a man, because it seems sort of like not a common thing to ask for. Like,
Yeah.
and the challenge here is the whole team knows we all have smartphones. Your boss knows you got a smartphone. Like everybody knows you've got an always-on device that's getting these notifications. So if you're not reading it, you're opting not to read it. And some bosses don't respond very well to that. There's situations where that's not. There's cultures where that's not acceptable, and I think it's really common.
Yeah, it's interesting though, from the Reddit co-founders' comments here, particularly about there's one line that I put out in our doc. All of us who decide to start a company, we're kind of broken as people. Which, wow.
A little obsessed might be. Yeah, you could. Another way to put it is you're a little obsessed with something.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think you know this too, right? You're driving forward and forward and forward, and your competition is not standing still.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, there's competition. There's also just general adapting to the market constantly, especially when you're dealing with a business that's online. It's incredible how fast things change now, especially for the podcast market. Podcasts are just growing like crazy.
Well, there's that new one where you have to subscribe, right? And they've got like Bethany McLean. Like there's some crazy stuff going on in the podcasting world.
Oh, yeah. Oh, you're going to get all kinds of things, especially with Spotify and Gimlet and a lot going on there. There's going to be subscriptions and premium content. It's going to be just like Netflix.
Everyone wants a slice.
Oh, that's not happening for us. We're always going to be free. The feed's always going to be easy to find. That's going to be our thing. But I have not learned my lesson here. And this is really hard for me to admit because this is super serious. It is literally like something if I don't figure out, I'm eventually going to kill myself. And it's really humbling to admit that I'm too dumb to figure it out. Like I'm just getting over another physical ailment that knocked me on my ass again. And it ironically affected me exactly in the way that the recovery of the last one did, where my range of motion is limited. I can't get out of bed. I can't lift the children. I can't pick pick up heavy objects.
That's living your life right there, right?
And it was exactly the same thing when I was recovering from the ruptured appendix. And it's something happens, and I don't take the warning signs, and I just assume it's going to be okay, and I just keep pushing forward. And even when I know, okay, this is your off ramp right here, I don't take it, and I keep going until I am physically impaired, until some sort of physical. I just won't stop. I will just keep taking it on, more stress and more things, until some sort of physical ailment knocks me out.
No choice but to stop.
Yeah.
It's the hard wall.
That's how, you're just going to kill yourself doing that. And I thought when I ended up in the hospital last September, and I spent, a hospital bill of $200,000 and 7 days in the hospital, I thought, okay, well, I guess I finally learned my lesson. I had to learn it the hard way. And then here I am again. And I just can't believe I let myself do it again.
I wonder if have you been conditioned? I mean, before, right, you were running and managing this whole business. And so it was, just seeing you at that time, it was, you were never off, right? You had stuff to think about and worry and shows to plan, and you couldn't stop. You needed to keep going.
I think it's a symptom of I haven't fully built like a lever I can pull where I can just be like, hey guys, I'm out for like 5 days and everything just continues. Because there's a few shows that's like, okay, well now we have to kind of scramble to figure out how to get content for and stuff like that I'm still producing, like LUP. It's because it's kind of like the main show I do now. And if I'm gone, like what do we do with that? Like we don't have a solution.
We still haven't figured that out.
Yeah. And there's other things. I have other responsibilities now. It's a challenge. It's a real challenge. And I don't know what I'm going to do. I've got to learn this lesson. So learn from my mistakes, people. I think, too, it's like we're subject to the fact that there's a lot of people who are sort of posturing online. They'll posture as this, and Ohanian touches on this, too. They'll posture on all these things that glorify absurd things like, oh, I stay awake at night worrying about this particular problem. You'll hear government officials say that all the time. Or you'll hear about people that are burning the candle at both ends and they're proud of it. Like, I got this out because I don't sleep. Like, I don't sleep. That's such a line of pride for so many people. And the irony is like, it's such a short-term game, and I'm learning that so hard now as I get to my mid to late 30s. I'm learning that, like, yeah, it really is true. Like, there is a limited time you can just cash that check against your body, and that debt really does come due. And the fact that our culture glorifies this posturing about staying up all night and underplays things like self-awareness and self-care and nutrition is the real problem here. And I don't see it changing anytime soon unless somebody gets on the microphone and says, this is a real thing, that as somebody who didn't pay attention to this is now at the other end of it saying, you better pay attention to this stuff.
Yep. Same thing. I mean, you remember, Chris, when we were doing the show 4 years ago in 2015, I took a heart attack from this, right? So this is like, I'm currently got some sort of sickness, like sinus infection of some weird kind, but still working 14 hours a day. Cause it's at some point, I think it's almost like becomes like a crazy addiction of like, you feel like you can't stop, because if you stop, first of all, I think it's easy to set up bad expectations with like customers and, in your case, audiences, clients, things like that, where sometimes things are just going to be late, right? Sometimes you don't need to have 3 status meetings in a week. I don't know. I constantly go back to Bell Labs invented Unix and the C programming language, working 9 to 5 with generous martini lunches, right? And somehow we can't build stupid little mobile apps without killing ourselves.
Right. And we don't even pay attention to the science, right? It's the culture and the surface level appearances, even when, there's plenty of good science and reasoning to suggest that we should manage ourselves a little better than that and play for the long haul, right? So that you can be more productive, get more done, instead of being constantly burnt out and slow because you haven't slept and can't think straight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. I really think so much better. I was doing some projects over the weekend, and I've probably set up a mount in FS Tab 1,000 times.
Thousands, right? Yeah.
But all 3 kids were in my office, and they were all making different noises. They weren't even really talking. They were just making noises, and their iPads were making noises. It took me 15 minutes to like figure out what I was doing wrong. I had to read this line a dozen times. And then I finally said, hey, guys, would you mind playing in the other room for a minute? And when they left and it got quiet and I closed my eyes and I look at it again, oh, geez, really? God, this is it? Oh, it's not under that folder. It's one folder up. Damn,
so simple.
Stupid Chris. Yeah. It really, I'm like, I have a totally different brain capacity sometimes. And sleep plays a big part. Rest. I was just talking with our buddy Alex, who's out often on the Friday stream and Linux Unplugged. He's an employee at Red Hat. And as part of that, they get a little vacay. And he took it. And he just got done doing a road trip through like Yellowstone and whatnot. And he said to me that about 3 or 4 days into being there where they didn't have any connectivity and he was just genuinely disconnected from work, that he started sleeping better. Yeah, that was interesting. Like, because my sleep has been pretty bad, so I thought, geez, that'd be...
Right. Takes a couple of days. You got to really get out of the habit once you realize, well, I can't... There's no point pulling my phone out because I can't check anything.
Yeah. He also said he was more focused and felt a little more creative when editing photos because he just sort of... Not only was the lack of distractions, but it was like the cumulative effect of multiple days of a lack of distraction and stress. Sounds like a fun experiment. But Meetup is... Meetup.com/Jupiter Broadcasting is, if you haven't checked it out, is a page we set up a bunch of different study group sessions, and one that we have coming up pretty soon is really on point. Meetup.com/Jupiter Broadcasting.
Understanding burnout. Yeah, this is going to be... I'm really looking forward to this.
Yeah, Major Nelson's also a Red Hat employee, isn't he?
I believe
yeah.
so.
So
yeah.
Major Nelson from... Major is really his first name. From Red Hat, and El Marquez, and...
Major Hayden.
Oh, Hayden?
Yeah.
What'd I say?
Nelson.
Oh, Major Nelson's the Xbox guy.
I was going to say, isn't he a Microsoft gaming guy? Wait a minute.
Yeah, he moved to Red Hat.
Yeah, they're...
No, I'm sorry, Major Hayden. who is a very nice guy. I've met him, so now I feel a little embarrassed. But
yeah, and he's had a 19-year career in IT.
Yeah.
And if you're gonna play in the the
knows
long
about
game,
this.
you have to be able to figure some of this out.
He's a smart guy. And so when is that?
That is tomorrow before Linux Unplugged.
Oh, okay.
12:30 p.m.
So it could be if you're getting this
Pacific
on the day this came out, it could be like right around there. Meetup.com/Jupiter Broadcasting, because we have that, and then when we do post the video version of it, we'll update that meetup page. So even if you can't make it to the meetup, you could stay up to date by following it. And then down the road, we're going to do a security presentation by, I think it's a Symantec employee.
Oh yeah, explaining some of their threat report internet studies.
And then after that, we're doing a 5-part series. At least that's the plan right now on AWS.
Oh, there's a lot to cover there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we have a really, 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 really sharp individual who's helping us put it together, and we're doing some new stuff, new presentation style. It's really going to be good. We just put it all out there for free. So it might not all go on the channel, though, so you'll want to stay tuned for that.
Mixing that up.
Yeah,
but you can get all the past ones over on our regular Jupiter Broadcasting channel.
Mm-hmm. Hey, have we said our piece about the burnout? Have we said that? I mean, do you feel like I feel like we could talk about it we could do a whole. You know what? We could do a dedicated podcast on it.
Really could.
Burnout. Could we then become burned out on burnout?
I know, right? Yes. I feel like though the one thing that's a little different about this whole go around that is I feel like the silver lining of my most recent issues is I'm much more aware of the process and I'm able to keep tabs. I'm like, oh, now I'm at this level. And I'm not freaking out about it. I'm not stressing, but I'm like, oh yeah, I'm doing this again. Like I'm staying. What do you call it? I'm just staying observant really of the process.
Yeah, you're aware of what you're thinking. Sure, you're not going to fix everything straight away, but you're at least thinking about it and you're aware that this could happen.
I feel like it's a form of mindfulness that sort of reduces the stress of it a little bit. So, and I feel like because I've been through this, I kind of have a plan to off-ramp. Next week, I'm going to go on a road trip from Texas to Washington. And I think that'll be a nice chance to unwind. I won't do any shows. Me and the lady will drive across country. It'll be a fast, hard drive, but
open road.
Yeah, something a little different.
Out and away. Oh, that sounds great.
Some hot weather, drive with the windows down. I think it'll be fine. So I'll be all right. See, I've planned my off-ramps. I know myself now, and I think I know how to correct it before it becomes major Chris bad. But I let it go for too long. So yeah.
It's easy to do. There's a lot to do, and I think it's especially hard when you care about what you do, right? Because you're extra driven. And you can't turn it off.
Yeah, that's true. It doesn't turn off. It don't turn off.
Do you have any tips, Mike? When you need to find your off ramp, or do you do any communicating around communication expectations or any of that with people you work with?
Yeah, I try to I'm trying now to run better processes that basically don't have hard dates that are going to be impossible, particularly when you have dependencies on either other vendors or the customer. That's a big deal.
Right, stuff
but
that's kind of out of your control.
Right. Any listeners who are feeling burned out and want to offload some .NET or mobile development, call the Mad Botter.
Hey, what's the best way for them to reach you?
Go to themadbotter.com.
Nice. That could be a great way if somebody's struggling with a project. Why not hire Mike and his team
let Mike
to
do it. They know what they're doing.
That's right.
Yeah, for sure. And if you're looking for
love
full-time...
F#,
yeah. Oh, what now?
All the latest and greatest functional techniques to make sure you get your project quickly and probably on time.
If you're looking for just a good time, by the way, call 1-8... No, I'm serious. No, actually... No, check out the Friday
was
stream.
1-9.
No, it is now. Check out the Friday stream, FridayStream.com. The one good thing about Mondays is the Friday stream's published. We stream it live on Fridays, except for this Friday. And then we publish it on Mondays. And you went up against Drew, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah, Drew and I.
To compete for a game for an audience member. And I don't want to say who won, but let's just say there's a lot on the line. There was a lot on the line because Wes had lost a previous one.
I had my honor and self-respect on the line.
Yeah. And if you're looking for a new gig, maybe where you're working at right now is burning you out, Linux Academy is hiring. You can go to jobs.lever.co/Linux Academy or just go to linuxacademy.com and they got a careers link way down on the bottom of the page.
And we'll have it on the show notes too.
That's true. We'll have a link in the show notes. Great pay, benefits. You get to work remotely and you get to hang out with us. We're at the end of this week, we're going to a big old company event. Come hang out with Wes and I.
Yeah, that's right. And you get to work on a pretty cool platform that helps people learn stuff.
That's true.
There are worse things to do.
Yeah, and it's a cool platform too. So check it out. That's over in the show notes, as Wes pointed out.
Oh, yeah. And, well, if you want more Coder Radio, we've got the whole backlog, coder.show. You can find this particular episode, number 363, right there, too, and all the rest. You want a whole bunch of other great shows, some of them with Chris? Well, JupiterBroadcasting.com has all of that and links to just about everything else, including the calendar page. That's where you can find out when we're here live. We do this show every week, just about 12 p.m. Pacific. And the magic of Google and the internet, well, it'll tell you whatever that is in your time zone of choice. If that's still not enough content, well, you can also find us on Twitter. I'm at Wes Payne. Mike, you're
At Dubanuco.
and Chris.
I'm at Chris LAS.
Yes, you are. We've also got a network account at Jupiter Signal. Thank you all for joining us. Come join us here live next week. All right, Coda Radio.
Carl just tweeted regarding Ubuntu dropping 32-bit packages. First, Pop! OS will support Steam and Win32 for the foreseeable future. If necessary, packages not built for Ubuntu will build them in Pop! OS repo. We have identified 175 packages coming from 113 source packages. We expect this to be unnecessary. A solution at the Ubuntu level is better for the overall ecosystem, and Ubuntu's latest statement says they'll be doing precisely this.
Interesting. It does seem like, man, it's such a little storm in a teacup.
It really was.
Especially since it's all software that can, I mean, all right, yes, it'll be different, it'll change. It's all just code we have that we can build. It's just so solvable in so many ways.
Snaps. Flat packs. Because there's a Steam flat pack right now that includes, today, that already exists, all of the stuff you need to run Steam games, including 32-bit libraries on a 64-bit system. Right now. It's already existing.
Yeah.
What do you think for titles, gentlemen?
Yeah, go vote, everyone.
Let me get to JB Titles.
Chat room, JB Titles.
We like it when you vote. You give us like your insight into your
Know
brain.
how to idle. Lifestyle, business lifestyle. Why not Kotlin? What's your pain point? You're insane, but we love you. Kill it with suggestions.
Get some title music now.
Why not Kotlin was pretty good. I thought you had another one in there that I suggested, but I don't see it in there. What was it? I must have not. I must have fumbled the command just because I'm using the small keyboard.
And Mike, when you're ready, we can stop recording.
Oh, yes. Let's sync that up. All right. Ready?
Yep. Stop.
I hit the wrong button. Crap.
Oh, yeah.
That's fine.
Find your off-ramp. Find your off-ramp, and why not Kotlin?
Find your off-ramp's pretty good.
Find your off-ramp's not bad, actually.
Better than why not Kotlin?
It's a little more interesting, I guess.
It's a little more, yeah, I think so.
Artistic. That may, if we're like just one dumb simple title that has like a programming word in it, then the other one's better. But
yeah, I mean, I'm just, I didn't mean to disparage any particular. I was just playing.
Why you gotta judge the title so hard, Chris?
Nope. All right, jbtitles.com. Go vote. Even if you didn't suggest, you can go vote.
Yeah, voting is very important.
This is.
It's your right. We'll take it away if you don't use it.
This is somewhere where your vote may actually make a difference right now. So why not? You finally have an opportunity for your vote to matter.
Well, what they don't know is we're running for school board, and this is actually rigged into that system.
That's a great idea. What a great way to actually get legitimate clicks on something.
Yeah,
we
right.
just point these on the back end at different stuff like for the years, over the years.
Oh, man.
That would be amazing. Like iTunes, like star reviews or something is what they should be pointed at.
Why do you think Mike keeps winning Citizen of the Year?
Every
Yeah.
every upvote should go to a 5-star review on iTunes.
Amazing.
You know, that the conversation reminded me of like a month or so ago. Everyone was talking about the whole like 996 thing in China. Just like work 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. 6 days a week.
Whoa.
Yeah, isn't that and that same thing?
That's
like,
a common. Is that a
exemplified in
common
their-
work culture?
Yeah, like at Alibaba,
Whew, why are people wasting their lives? See, the millennials aren't going to have it.
right?
Millennials are saying, no, you know what? Experiences matter more. So, what are you going to do then? Capitalism.
I'm too busy with my avocado toast.
That's right. Takes time to make good avocado toast.
And you got to choose the right avocado. Ideally, hand grown somewhere, organic.
Maybe on a roof garden or
Oh
in
yeah,
a backyard garden or.
right. You got to fly to Brooklyn
You-
to
do
go
you
to
know-
the rooftop.
Did you hear
garden.
what Brent's doing today?
No. What's that crazy guy up to?
Like plowing a field and planting seeds in a friend's farm, like
What?
with equipment and like they're transporting gear, and that's what he's doing today.
Hard lifestyle, Brent.
I don't even get it. Like,
What?
it's unbelievable. I told him he has to tell us on the Friday stream.
Is he going to take some pictures at least?
I don't know.
Or like bring some sort of Linux device?
I gotta be honest. If I was in better shape and my grandpa still had his farm up in Canada and he said, "Hey, would you come help me?" I would be.
You could do it.
I'd be interested for doing it for a little bit, just to be really good
What's
to
a
get
little
out.
bit,
And,
like a week?
yeah, like get out in the sun. You know, spend some time with grandpa. Really work. You know, like where you work so hard you're hungry. You know that kind of
A good day's work.
and then you're just exhausted at the end of the
You
day.
sleep super well because you just
Yeah.
pass right out.
Right.
Yeah.
That sounds nice.
Amazing.
Kind of tan and fit.
All right, Mr. Well, did you see a title? Did you pick a title, Dom?
Yeah, I like the off ramp. I mean, I like
Okay.
Why Not Kotlin or the off ramp. So whichever.
All right,
if I'm sorry,
darling.
yeah.
Well, the chat room
All right,
has
guys.
voted, but yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. You know, democracy.
Nice to see you as always, darling.
Nice to see you. Talk to you next week. Bye.
Okay. I
Have
won't
fun
be
with
here,
Go.
by the way. I'll be driving home.
That's
Yeah, just
fine.
you
So
and I.
Yep.
back to you and I.
Yeah.
It'll
I'll
be a
listen though. I'll hopefully
go-tastic.
be able to listen on the
Oh, yeah,
drive.
you
That'll be
should.
fun.
You better.
You should, yeah.
Yep.
All right, guys.
All right,
Have
bye,
fun.
guys.
Bye.
Chat room, thank you very much. Appreciate you.
We sure do.
We have a lot going on tomorrow. So we have the
Full day.
we have the burnout meetup,
12:30,
and then after that we have LUP.
2 o'clock.
It's gonna be a
Pacific.
really good LUP,
Oh my god, I'm excited already.
and we may or may not be live for LUP on Wednesday, but there's also a BSD now.
Live BSD now. I think they're
Hashtag
doing
just
it. Aren't they
saying.
recording a double?
Maybe it's
Might-
crazy BSD
secret,
boys.
secret.
So, all right, we got to pick our title.
Yeah, we do.
What do you like? What do you like? It's your choice. You pick. You pick. We don't even have to tell you. You don't want. If you don't want
No,
to tell
I think I like Find Your Off Ramp.
All right, there we go.
I
Executive
have
decision.
spoken.
That's the privilege you get in that seat.
Yeah, that's right. The decider.
Do 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 do. Well, it's fun being here.
Thanks for joining. That was good.
Thanks for having me.
We had to. I mean, that's a good topic to talk about.
Yeah, obviously it's one I care a lot about.
Yeah, and you especially when you want to work, like you want to work, you just gotta find ways to you can keep doing it consistently.
My hope is that like this, even if it's like one person in the entire audience, they're like driving home or driving to work, listen to this, and it's been on their mind, and this maybe helps them come to some sort of
think about it, start a dialogue, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Take care of yourselves out there.
Maybe that's a little ambitious, but I think that'd be pretty great. We'll see. All right.
So it's not that you're just trying to sell subscriptions to your self-help service.
Oh yeah, right. I should have mentioned that.
Yeah. Chris's Find Your Off Ramp course. Get it now for only $2,999 a week. All right, we're gonna get out of here. We gotta go prepare for this ultimate LUP tomorrow. There's a lot to do. You guys have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow.